does have a levelling up strategy that it's keen to see pursued, it also needs to make sure that we aren't seeing students from working class backgrounds going to university to get a start on life, not able to do that purely because of the economic conditions they find themselves in.
We're out of time. Really interesting time for the panel tonight. Christopher Steele, Justine Greening, lovely to have your company. Thanks for being with us. This is BBC World News America. I'm Christian Fraser. Ukraine works to restore power supplies after yesterday's barrage of missiles. The First Lady says the country will battle on.
At times it is extremely hard, but then we find new emotions which help us to keep going.
We have a special report from Afghanistan, the distressing story of people selling their daughters or drugging their children as they battled to survive the winter. The return of Anwar Ibrahim. Malaysia's king installs the veteran politician to form a new government. The tale of the lost emperor, an ancient gold coin once thought to be fake, now reveals the existence of a 3rd century Roman leader. For all of you watching on PBS and around the globe, welcome to World News America. The authorities in Ukraine say that the electricity network is now able to provide more than half of the country's needs as they continue to try to repair the damage caused by Russia's latest missile strikes on Tuesday. All regions have seen at least some restoration of supplies, but many Ukrainians remain without power. President Zelensky has accused the Kremlin of crimes against humanity. Our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse has been to see how the repairs are being carried out in the south of the country. President Zelensky keeps calling for the world's help in his nightly addresses to the people in Ukraine, and now his wife, the First Lady, Olena Zelenska, is also taking on an increasingly public role. For the BBC's 100 Women series, the BBC's chief international correspondent Lise Doucette travelled to Kyiv to speak with Olena Zelenska. And the full interview with Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, and BBC Chief International Correspondent Lise Doucette is available on the iPlayer here in the UK and will run on BBC World News this weekend and the BBC 100 Women, our annual season of influential and inspiring women. That launches on Tuesday, the 6th of December. Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, has just announced an amnesty for many banned Twitter accounts after carrying out a poll on the platform. In a tweet, he said, "The people have spoken. Amnesty begins next week. The amnesty for suspended accounts will begin next week as long as they haven't broken the law or spammed users." More than 3.1 million Twitter users voted in the poll, with 72% saying yes. Mr. Musk had already reinstated the Twitter account of former President Donald Trump following a similar poll last week. Since taking over at Twitter, Elon Musk has stirred up a real frenzy with a range of radical changes, including a subscription fee for the blue tick and sacking staff. So what direction is Twitter heading, and what does he mean for content moderation and handling disinformation? The BBC's America spoke to a former content moderator at Twitter who was fired by Mr. Musk. In Afghanistan, the BBC has found evidence that people are going to desperate lengths to survive the second winter since the Taliban took control, including selling their daughters. The Afghan economy has collapsed, and the UN has described the situation as a catastrophe, with millions on the brink of starvation. You may find some of Yogita Lemaire's report from the city of Herat distressing. China has posted a record number of COVID infections as cities across the country impose fresh lockdown measures to try to control the spread of the virus. Our China correspondent Stephen McDonnell reports from Beijing. In other news, The UN Human Rights Council has ordered an international probe into Iran's violent crackdown of women's rights protests. The Human Rights Commissioner said Iran is experiencing a fully fledged human rights crisis over the past 8 weeks. 14,000 people, including children, have been arrested so far. More than 300 people have been killed. Net migration to Britain reached a record of just over 500,000 in the year to June, despite government pledges to reduce numbers. 1.1 million people came to Britain, mostly from outside the EU. More than 500,000 left. The lower house of the Russian parliament has unanimously passed a law banning all material the authorities deem to be LGBT propaganda. The ban broadens previous legislation aimed at children to the entire population. Malaysia's constitutional monarch, King Abdullah, has announced that Anwar Ibrahim will be the country's next Prime Minister after a general election last Saturday in which no parties won a majority of seats in the parliament. The decision follows 5 days of intense negotiations over possible political coalitions. As our South East Asia correspondent Jonathan Head reports, for Mr Anwar, one of Asia's best-known political figures, it caps a remarkable comeback. An ancient gold coin, once thought to be fake, has now been authenticated, revealing the existence of a 3rd century Roman emperor called Sponsian. He was said to have governed the eastern province of Dacia in present-day Romania. He'd previously been written out of the history books after 19th century experts suggested the coin might have been a forgery. Here's our science correspondent, Palab Ghosh. And as I'm sure you don't need reminding, today is Thanksgiving. So let's end then with pictures from Macy's 96th Thanksgiving Parade in New York City. The event runs for about 3 hours, featuring the marching bands, 16 giant balloons, 28 floats, plus a host of musical stars to entertain the crowds. And so, to all our American viewers, happy Thanksgiving to you, and thank you for watching World News America.
Hello. In southern Europe, another developing storm system